we are in the midst of a hyper-secularized culture. Again, to mention Charles Taylor, that in 1500 he said practically everyone believed in God. Now it's a very lively option not to believe in God. And that's something unique. I mean, what's happening in the Western cultures today is unique almost in human history, that people feel they can live a happy life apart from some reference to the transcendent. I face it every single day on my internet sites and social media sites that you're up against a secularism, the buffered self. So I get it. There is a real resistance within the culture. But if I can invoke another intellectual hero of mine, the great Monsignor Robert Sokolowski, who taught me years ago at Catholic U. And he used to say, the integrated Catholic culture, let's say from the 13th century, let's say this integrated Catholic view of the world at the Enlightenment and Reformation, maybe let's say at the rise of the modern, blew up. So it exploded. And so it was lost in a way, but yet he said, the twisted, charred pieces of it landed here and there. And so you can see them in the culture. Now, often in distorted form. They're not in perfect form. They're not integrated. They're kind of smoking and twisted, but they're there. One strategy I've used is to look at films. So for a lot of people today, especially young people, music and films are major bearers of the culture. I think you can find, yes, even in this sort of desert landscape of postmodernism, you can find lots of references to the sacred, to the good, to the holy. Now, they won't be right out of the Council of Trent playbook. They're going to be in somewhat twisted form. That's why some people will look at a movie review that I might do and say, how could you watch? And that's not really, well, no, I get it. I know it's not exactly, Thomas Aquinas, but it's a version of it. There's a remnant of it. There's also, within postmodernism, what they call a nostalgic postmodernism. That's to say, one that is not antipathetic to what came before, but actually is looking back behind the modern to things that were occluded by modernity. So there are people in the postmodern, even philosophical space, who are very open to forms of metaphysics and religion and so on that were occluded by modernity. And I've tried to use some of that in my own work as well. So you can listen to the postmoderns themselves and say, well, they're actually open to things that we've preserved and that modernity tended to put aside. So I fully acknowledge the difficulty of it, the reality of what that questioner is describing, but I wouldn't give up so quickly. See, part of it too, Cardinal George again, so he's come to my mind a lot today. He used to say, you can't evangelize a culture that you hate. That doesn't mean you're not critical of it. He was critical of many things in our culture, but ultimately you must love the culture that you're in, otherwise you can't evangelize it. So I don't think we should fall into a, antipathetic stance. The culture is just fallen, it's just hopeless, run to the hills. No, like Newman's foraging animal, go out into postmodernity, assimilate what you can, resist what you must. In some ways, that's all we can do. Otherwise, we are just going to withdraw, So I would acknowledge it, but say don't give up too quickly. There's still a lot of semina verbi around. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I encourage you to share it and be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel.